Welcome back to GH Updates, your go-to spot for all the drama, revelations, and explosive secrets from General Hospital. Buckle up, because the episode airing on Monday, June 2nd, 2025, is nothing short of a seismic shakeup in Port Charles. Let's break it all down. Cody's exes are certainly airing all their dirty laundry now that he's an afterthought. Janelle casually recollated a day from years ago when Cody was bragging about Robin. Cody has said, "Well, all of a sudden I met Robin and she's this diesel jeans model and she's everything I want." Janelle remarked, "Tune priest." She added, "You just take your little diesel jeans model and just go live happily ever after." Cody Hazelway's seen Robin as a prize that Hugh. While it may initially come a crass and offhand comment, Cody was spelling out perhaps unconsciously just how much Robin shifted his priorities. Iman. This is the man who divorced his legal wife Mary so he could legally wed Robin, and then even started wearing a new wedding band in secret. To be clear, there's no confirmation that Trubin was ever an official model for Diesel. There's speculation on online forums like Reddit that suggests she may have modeled the brand in a local event. I'm not sure what to believe. But while I was in a rabbit hole, I discovered that Cody had mentioned it before. Anda's comments are even more telling than Janelle's related. In 2023, he gave an interview on the Mormonism Live podcast where he commented on how he perceived Robin when she initially joined the family. "Oh, I thought I was a total success. I had a diesel jeans model coming into my family in 2010, and he thought that was the biggest validation." Cody remarked she had other individuals in our church interested in her. She had their bids from people to marry her, and she fully believed in plural marriage, and she absolutely believed in me. What's astonishing isn't that Robin allegedly has a modeling background. Rather, it's what it means to Cody. I guess Robin is merely a trophy to him. She continuously takes his side and hypes him up, which is how she's remained the favorite. Don't forget that Cody refused to be intimate with his past spouses and would claim to not being attracted to them. If he was continuously bringing up Robin's DSL affiliation as a bragging point, it's now and his marriages fell apart. Janelle had to weather a fairly rough storm, finally. On the television broadcast, the Brown family acknowledged the tragic passing of Madison Brown. On March 5, 2024, tragedy struck when Garrison died, a consequence of suicide. This series' May 4th episode featured numerous members of the Brown family surprised Garrison was gone. Janelle, for her part, said that it had not been unusual to be messaging him all day long. As Cheshire, they talked at least 3 times a day. Speaking to people last year, Janelle stated that we just had no idea that he was in that place. She continued by noting, but he didn't ever express any kind of extreme sad feelings. However, she acknowledged that substance addiction certainly played a component in his passing. The loss of her kid weighs tremendously tough, and she's taken the steps to enhance her life in the wake of tragedy. She's concentrated on herself by moving to North Carolina, closer to her daughter and grandchildren. As it turns out, in the May 4th episode, Madison Brown, Garrison's older sister, had been trying to encourage Garrison to migrate to the Tar Heel state previous to his dying. "I was trying to get him to move out here. And so, every step that we get closer. We talked a lot about that," Sherville in confessional. "I think he was just so deep in now in North Carolina." Janelle and Maddie are working together to open a flower farm called Tata Farms. This could be a fantastic reason to push sister wives aside and focus on this new venture with a clear mind. Related, Janelle Brown's kids come first. As the Brown family continues to break apart, it's clear that if one should start that trend, leading the charge of jumping ship, it's going to be Janelle. She's moved herself from many of the toxic situations occurring in Flagstaff, noting how Robin had been a major factor in the family falling apart, as she focuses on building a new home in North Carolina. It might also mean removing further connections to Cody. After Mary got one, Janelle has pondered a spiritual divorce from Cody to cover all bases. After being married for 30 years, she wants to feel as if it was done for good. Despite not thinking Gannathor marriage is in the cards, Sheshered on Sister Wives. So, just so thoughty I'm sure, I'm good. If I were to remarry, maybe it's worth getting a spiritual divorce. Part of Janelle's motive for leaving Cody was his connection, Bregton, with his children. Her closeness and love for her children completely exceeded anything Cody could do for her. If he wasn't going to work in repairing fences with his children, she wasn't willing to put the time in with him. She revealed on the television how she wouldn't contemplate reconciling with him simply due of his lack of relationships with her kids. Her kids come first. If the kids are out on Sister Wives, she'll follow suit. Or Mabe, a North Carolina spin-off, may be in the works. Due to the show's delayed production schedule, viewers knew themament was approaching, but nothing could have prepared them for the rawness of the scene. Rather than dramatize endurance, TLC let the stillness speak for itself. Turning to black after Mary had a tragic call from Cody while filming. What occurred next was a candid look at how the splintered family coped with the loss. Something Sister Wives will likely continue to explore throughout the season. The moment Thefamoe found out. Image via TLC. The episode opened like any other with Mary in the confessional booth. She was preparing to mention something rated her birthday, but grew clearly distracted when her phone kept touring. Mary acknowledged it was Cody, but opted to ignore it to keep recording. When a producer asked Mary if she wanted to halt to accept the phone, she shrugged off the offer, stating, "Nope, he can text me if he needs me." However, Mary's tone changed when she got a text from Cody saying, "It's an emergency." She eventually decided and her face sank. The screen then turned to black with white letters giving the tragic news. On March 5, 2024, Kadyant Janelle's son Garrison passed away. Mary immediately interrupted filming to travel to Cody and Robin's house, where Ash was met by more family members. Related later, lament in a confessional, Mary acknowledged to being in disbelief. Upon hearing the news from Cody, he told Meth words that I'll never forget. He goes Garrison took his life. And it was just like this weird surrealment that like, no, not one of orchids. No, they're not going to do that, you know, she remembered. There was nothing contrived about the scene. It was highly emotional, which is what made it so effective and devastating. It was also a reminder that Sister Wives is more than just a reality program about plural marriage. It's about a real family, and in its current season, it's a deep dive into loss and sadness, doubt, and the family's grief. The rest of the program mostly occurred in confessionals, when the family struggled to make sense of what transpired. Janelle stated she'd been texting Garrison throughout the day, saying there was nothing unusual about their chat, though she knew he'd been struggling. Cody had a hard relationship with Garrison owing to consequences from the family's pandemic issues. He said on camera, he's riddled with remorse and questioned if he could have done something to avoid Garrison's death. I didn't get a chance to really make things right, Cody said. He said all the frustration I had. All of a sudden, that's so unimportant. I'm so heartbroken about what would have been. It makes me feel connected to him to death what ifs, Cody confessed, visibly. Whether or not viewers connect with Cody, it's evident that his pain is real, and so is his regret. Garrison's mental health struggles. Perhaps the most devastating moment of the episode came when the family started to dissect causes that may have led to Garrison's death. Janelle mentioned he struggled with anxiety and sadness 4 years, and alcohol eventually became his means of dealing. However, his drink airsend during CO. Though the familiar for all the love, all the support, all the resources, Janelle said something about that night was different. In one poignant revelation, Janelle depicts the surrealism of Thefameli's loss, saying, "I know that he's dead, but I forget that he's dead." Anthon, I'm like, "Oh, I remember." It's clear the Brown family will never be Thesum again. And by airing their pain supinely, Sister Wives delivered one of its most honest, important, and tragic episodes of all time. It began as an unevening of ordinary catch-up, a calm art designed to rediscover the familiar faces of a once tightly connected family scattered by emotional distance and terrible facts. While watching a recent portion of the long-running Family-focused reality series One Woman, formerly a prominent role in the now-dismantled Plural Union, shared a memoria thought generated waves of astonishment, amusement, and sorrow all at once. Her words weren't delivered with bitterness, but with the cold detachment of someone who had long since absorbed the sting. She recalled about a point in the past, Juan the Patriarch, now estranged foremost of the ladies who had formerly likened him there. Spouse spoke with whitey joy about the newest woman taunter, their collective life. His statements had struck her as ludicrous back then. Now they just verified that changes she had sensed unfolding beneath surface, he once told me. Then she came along, and it was like meeting Simeon, who had walked straight out of Adnam ad campaign. She was everything Eva envisioned. She recalled her voice, lined with the echo of disbelief. The memory, while seemingly innocent, peeled back a revealing layer of how adulation, vanity, and idealization began to disturb the balance of an already intricate arrangement. She closed with a remark that summed years of recent dissensions. "If that's what you want, go chase your billboard beauty and enjoy fairy tale." What may have been depicted as casual storytelling was in fact a compelling portrayal of a relationship dynamic that eventually soared a family. When idealization bosoms. Division. The relationship at the core of this novel was originally regarded as a monument to devotion and faith, a brave attempt at living an alternative lifestyle, built on shared responsibility and spiritual principle. The early days witnessed the original's pieces holding one another up through diversity, raising their children as autonomous, often chaotic. But Al was soonified home. But unity proved shaky. When the newest partner was introduced into the fold, something shifted. The man at the center of it all began to change, not in little quiet ways, but in actions and behaviors that slowly organized the family's emotional architecture. The legal dissolving of phone marriage to legitimate another wasan of the first public signs. Then followed the accessories, small gestures like switching out his wedding ring, a discreet but strong symbol of changed priorities. These changes, though not shouted from rooftops, were non-athelistic within the familial circle. The myth of the denim muse. One particular light feature in all of this was the man's continuous mention of his newest vows being related to the world of fashion. He regularly alluded to her having on-speen linked with the popular denim brand, an affiliation that, whether genuine or imagined, took on mythic proportions in his retellings. There's no concrete evidence to imply she ever worked officially with the brand in question. Whispers across online platforms believe that perhaps she participated in a local showcase, a event that somehow swelled over time into a badge of prestige. But whether or not the modeling assertion holds water is beside the point. What important is what it represented to him, a sign of failure, success, and personal affirmation. The echo chamber of Faprevel. The affection he demonstrated toward her wasn't only romantic. It contained a tone of pride, as though getting her was an accomplishment to be flaunted. He referred to her with the of someone who believed they had acquired a thing others sought. In a tape chat reflecting on the early days of their friendship, he candidly acknowledged how her presence made him feel like a guy who had finally reached greatness. He highlighted the fact that authors within their spiritual group had expressed interest in her, that she chose him. He continued, reinforced all he felt about himself. She had many paths could have taken, he remarked during the interview, but she chose this one. She believed in this way of life, and she believed in me. To many who had been by his side during years of struggle and sacrifice, these comments surely felt like an eraser. How the glow of one dimmed the light of others. The favoritism that arose became more hard to ignore. While he showered his newer girlfriend with praise and affection, his relationships with his other wife began to fade. The imbalance wasn't only in attention, but in emotional and physical availability. He would subsequently admit, sometimes on camera, that his interactions with the other women in his life lacked romantic desire. The love and connection they once experienced appeared to evaporate like morning mist. He removed himself, not just emotionally, but physically, a truth that the women began to acknowledge and grieve in real time. And all the while, he continued to under Lynette's special attractiveness of the woman Woe had become his muse. His admiration for her was unshakable, and that consistency came at the cost of stability within the broader family. A household divided by perception. It's not hard to envision how these dynamics correlate the relationships between spouses. When one member of a family becomes the center of attention, resentment is certain to fester. In a culture founded on equality and balance, the growing idea that one lady was on a pedestal destabilized everything. The other women in the family who had built their lives on shared beliefs and communal love found themselves increasingly sidelined. The emotional oxygen in the room had been sucked out, leaving them gasping for acknowledgement. As their experience merged, it became evident that their anguish wasn't born from jealousy, but from betrayal. They had not signed up to background characters in a love story that excluded them. Self-worth and thiepeth out. Eventually, the realization hit. One by one, they began to consider their place in the structure they had formerly fervently guarded. They questioned the man they had devoted their lives to and the system that permitted one partner to dominate affection while others languished. The woman who had remembered the denouement so vividly. She walked away. With her departure came a flood of clarity and a restored feeling of self. She no longer required to compete with an idealized vision of femininity. She rose toward her voice and began constructing a life based in independence and personal truth. The myth collapses the patriarch. Now without the support of the women who had earlier formed his emotional base, found himself isolated. The fantasy he had pursued, centered around approval and homage, had cost him dearly. The spouse had valued as a trophy remained by his side. But the vision of a cohesive family built on shared belief and sacrifice was gone. What remained was a ghost of the original promise. What Thednam comment really meant in the end, the casually recalled memory about a woman being compared to a fashion model is never truly about fashion. It weighs about a shift in priorities, about the destructive force of pedestal building, and about the disintegration of unity when one person's ambitions outweigh a family's shared commitment. That one comment encapsulated the beginning of disintegration. It marked the moment when fantasy came to outweigh devotion, when love for beauty overtook appreciation for dedication, and when a family disintegrated beneath the weight of one man's illusion. Closing the chapter, the women who walked away have found power in reclaiming their tales. They are no longer quiet spectators to a story they didn't write. They are authors now of healing, of progress, and of the new lives they are constructing beyond the shadows of a once shared dream. And as for the man who previously thought himself victorious for securing a woman he resembled to a model, he now stands amid the ruins of a dream that emphasized appearances over authenticity. What a whirlwind of emotion, betrayal, and bombshell revelations. Monday's episode promises to change the lives of Port Charles residents forever. Will Michael recover from Sasha's revelation? Will Nina's secrets destroy her credibility? And is this really the end for Curtis and Portia? One thing's for sure, General Hospital is just getting started. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to GH Updates for your daily dose of drama. We'll be right here, bringing you every twist, every turn, and every unforgettable moment. Until next time, stay tuned, Port Charles fans.